My name is Dr. Dan Richardson. I'm the program advisor for the Phantom Regiment. I'm medical director as well. This year's production, 207 Phantom Regiment, is called On Air, and we're going to try to depict all of the things that birds do and things that we see in flight. Opening up with Vespertine formations. This was a wonderful composition written by Christopher Deane, who is a friend of Paul and a colleague of Paul Rennick, our percussion arranger. And here at the beginning of the show, we have a lot of movement, and it was a very interesting concept to try to get the feeling of birds flocking and then right now landing like they do perhaps on a telephone wire. What you see in the middle of this section is our prop arrangement, which is the sunset. So all throughout the field you can see the sunset and various parts of it. We use that to change costumes as well. This opening production, called 1,000 Airplanes on the Roof, was by Philip Glass, which was a new approach for us. We've never done any Philip Glass music, and we wanted to see how that would work with our classical music. And to our delight, we thought it worked fairly well to give the feeling of flight and the feeling of motion. It was, again, a big challenge this year because the drill was so difficult, fast-moving, and between the productions, you're going to see that flocking motion that we started out with. The costumes this year for the color guard depicted the male birds, which are a little more colorful than the female birds, but as you see, we'll change costumes throughout the show. Throughout this Philip Glass production, our visual designer, Jamie Thompson, throughout wanted to get an integration of the birds throughout each of the production. So his integration this year was terrific. Integration of the color guard through the entire production. As you see, they'll be weaving in and out of the formations. Here we see to the left the birds going into the sunset. So our main prop was on the left, which was the sunset, and the birds will be doing a lot of formations around that sunset, as you can see right here. The front ensemble this year just had a terrific book, we think. And of course the judges did too. They performed very well and did very well throughout the year. The front ensemble was really excellent. Here's an idea of that integration that we see throughout the show with the color guard, so close formation throughout. But again, we tried to get the feeling of the flocking of birds and the feeling of lightness, or an aerial feeling. Here we have one of the Phantom Regiment moments where we put into all the show. You'll see the kick halt here. The kids love doing this, and of course the audience appreciates it as well when we really come at the audience full force when you hear that baritone sound, which sort of identifies the Phantom Regiment. There's a chevron, and we put that in every show if we can get it. It also is, as you're going to see, turns into a bird cage, and she is flying into the bird cage. Right now, between productions, each of the productions, as we end it, we start the flocking motion again of the birds, and you will see right now how the birds are flocking together and going into the next production, which is Flower Duet by Leo Delibes. Our visual and color guard production here, I think, really takes over and shows the sensitivity and the performance level of the color guard this year. And Adam Sage did a great job with getting the kids to perform so well. Here we're utilizing our flugelhorns instead of the trumpets. And that in itself is a pretty difficult thing to do because the instruments are cold and they just came from the trumpets playing a brand new instrument. Here you'll see things, the concept of the birds flying in formation, like you see geese flying south. But again, the color guard, you're going to see the two male and females pair up, and this we considered kind of a courting dance or a mating ritual that birds do. And the flower duet we thought was perfect because the flower duet does depict a love song, and birds are involved in that. This went over fairly well with the audience, made a good emotional connection with them. It's one of our ballads that we think will be quite memorable throughout the years. Staging here, again, Jamie Thompson, I think, did a great job of staging the color guard, and the focus is on the color guard and on that sunset. So I think he did a great job of working the core through those props, which are in the middle of the field. One of our sequentials that went over really well with the audience, especially when the last two caught it so nicely and together. The pairing of the birds during this composition kind of feature the musicians and the color guard as they pair up and sing their song of love. This is going to be interrupted, though, by something very harsh and strong as we go into Suggestion Diabolique by Prokofiev. This is going to depict a darker, more menacing sound and feeling. You see the dark flags come out, which really depict, as far as we were concerned, vultures and buzzards and hawks and falcons. They're going to be diving into the core and really attacking the lovebirds that we saw earlier. The Suggestion Diabolique by Prokofiev we thought was a very good vehicle for the core, and it turned out really well. This is one of our most popular pieces because we have a great percussion feature in here, as well as color guard and horns as well. So all of the musicians added to this, and every single performer on the field had their moment. We have the development of new flags in the back. The pinwheel, we first started out talking about them being propellers, and we kind of used that concept, but it was just a good drill move that got the percussion up in front. And here we see showing the talent of our percussion line this year, which also scored very well, first and second sort of throughout the year. They did very well. Color guard performers here will do their individual dance, and as the percussion shows off a little bit, and there is the falcon coming forward, being lifted up by the rest of the color guard. My personal favorite moment was at the end of the percussion feature, and you can check it out on the DVD, the percussion angle of the DVD, the attitude the percussion gave. It was great. Here, again, the attack has finally subsided, and you see the appearance of the Firebird, and the falcon is going to disappear. And the horn player begins the long trek to the Eternal City as we move slowly away from the sunset. The color guard has changed their costumes. We utilized the sunset to change costumes. There's the old costume, of course, and you'll see each of the color guard come out in a different costume. The whole field will turn white, and we have a different attitude from the flocking birds, one of a slow, progressive movement. It's going to be picking up as we see throughout the production. This is, of course, Igor Stravinsky's Firebird Suite. This was one of my favorite productions because it started off slow and it just kept building and building and building throughout the production. We got a lot of credit out of this one because of the way that the members moved, and you're going to again be seeing a lot of movement throughout the corps. And as we come to the end of the production, you're going to see more and more movement and more flocking of the birds. It was really easy to change flags and to change rifles and costumes because of those props that we had. We designed it that way, and it worked out really well. You didn't really notice the corps was moving around. Here is where we start flocking. Got a lot of credit from this. The audience loved it, because if you really listen to the music, it sounds like they're standing still, yet they're running. Everybody is running and playing at a really high level and sustained throughout the production. The audience is starting to move and starting to get excited. This ending production was one that we really enjoyed throughout the year, practicing and performing. And there is the Firebird again, leading the corps into its final formation, which is a signature piece of the Phantom Regiment, but we added that little touch this year of the turnaround, the 360. And that is our signature as we end our 2007 production. And we really enjoyed performing it this year. The students had a great time and really had a good year.